Okay, so we will start the meeting at 7:03. Sorry for the few minutes. And if we could have, I'm gonna call it to order, if my laptop doesn't die in the middle of this. And can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Andrea, therefore, I don't know who's running that, but there's someone who wants to join. That I guess you have to click in. I don't know.
Okay, so I need an approval of the agenda for tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Anything need to be tweaked, changed? You guys see anything? All right, all in favor? Okay, thank you. I do not have any public input or announcements. Are you guys good? Okay. Okay, so on to approval of the minutes from 7:17, and then I'll do one for 8:03.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from 7:17.
Okay.
second it.
I only have one correction.
On 7:17?
Yes.
Okay.
Under the community engagement, I just need a Y next to my.
Okay. With that change, all in favor? Okay. Now I need an approval of the minutes from 8:03.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any changes, discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? All right, thank you guys for like promptly raising your hands online. Okay, so now we're on to the pre-K update.
I think I know most people in this room. I've met you before, but I'm Sarah Bolster, and I'm the pre-K coordinator for the district, so good to see you again, Carol. So tonight I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about really a lot of the major changes that have happened in the early ed system in the state of Vermont. And then after talking about that, I wanted to jump in on just some of our district pre-K programs and some updates about what we've been up to for the past couple of years. Or not, sorry, I got a little distracted. Not the past couple of years, for this past year. Is this better up here?
No, you were.
Yeah, you were good right there.
Okay.
The camera followed you.
I was like trying to think.
No.
So, and feel free to jump in with any questions as I'm talking, okay? And I do have a new computer, so I'm gonna try to cast some slides. And I hope it goes smoothly this way.
Great, Kim's giving the thumbs up so
It's
they
a
can see
little
it over there.
cut off, but that's okay. So this past year in the early ed system in Vermont, which includes universal pre-K, which is what our district is part of in this early ed system, we've really had three major changes to really help support and build the capacity and the sustainability of early ed in Vermont. Childcare in early ed has almost really been at a crisis, at a tipping point in the state where families are having such a hard time trying to find full-time care for their children, and usually, typically, home providers and private providers live on a very low wage. So a lot of this effort is to really looking at the whole system between the private and the public sector to build that. And one of the major points of that was actually the passage of Act 76, which was about a year and a half ago now at this point. And with Act 76, again, it's really aiming at stabilizing childcare and universal pre-K in Vermont by really focusing on workforce development, making sure that all employees that work in this field are receiving the adequate training they need to be able to do their job, and also being able to provide an increased amount of financial support for families that need to access childcare. If anyone in this room has children or grandchildren that are in childcare or pre-K programs, it can be an incredibly expensive endeavor. So it was a huge boost to have that influx of cash to come in to financially support the early ed programs by allowing more families to become eligible to receive funding based on income eligibility or disability and a few other pieces. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. One of the other components of Act 76 that has a direct impact on universal pre-K programs, which again is what we call our program here in the Mill River School District, is that there was a pre-K education committee that was developed to really look at the sustainability and the cost benefits of pre-K. Currently, right now, pre-K children enrolled across the state have access to 10 hours a week, 35 weeks out of the year. That's tuition paid through the Agency of Education. So those children can attend at no charge, either at a public school program, if they have a program, or through private providers. And so this committee that was developed since December of 2023 has really been trying to look at, like, how much does pre-K really actually cost in the state of Vermont? Let's put an actual real number to that and figure out how we can build a system to support these outcomes and goals that we want for pre-K. So they've been meeting now for about a year and a half, and they, this past winter, they actually made a formal recommendation through a report through the legislature to begin looking at the weight that pre-K children are assigned for financing. Currently, they're assigned a 0.4 ADM, whereas students typically in the K through 12 education system are assigned a 1.0. So their recommendation is actually to reverse that so there's not a negative impact, because they realize the cost of pre-K is actually much more than a 0.4 ADM. So their recommendation is to increase that to a 1.0. There's a long way to go before that happens. But again, it's the committee's recommendation. Their idea is that in another 2 years, so by July 1st of 2026, their goal would be to implement that 1.0 ADM. So that's a big impact financially for school districts. But again, it's not a done deal. There's a lot to consider with everything we all know with school budgets and the pressure that everyone's feeling. So another piece that's part of Act 76 really is the revamping of the Child Care Financial Assistance Program. And that's the program that I was just speaking about, where families can apply based off income to receive eligibility to pay for childcare. But again, that also applies to our district because we do have some fee-for-service for our pre-K programs because we operate for a full day. So families have an option of enrolling for a part-day program that's covered through the tuition of the AOE that we receive. And then if they are enrolled beyond those hours, they either pay a tuition for that, or if they qualify for the Child Care Financial Assistance Program, will receive payment actually through the Agency of Human Services for that. Amazing news, there really hasn't been a lot of increase to the income eligibility guidelines, but right now, as of the beginning of April, it's increased to 400% of the federal poverty level. So what that means is a family of four, working family of four, could have an annual income of like $124,000. It's huge, and they would receive some level of assistance to be able to enroll their children. So it's really what this system has needed for a long time. So that's a little bit about that. Currently, just to give you some stats.
Kimberly, do you want to ask now?
That's I wasn't sure. Do you want me to hold on to my question until the end?
It's up to you, Kim. I'm fine.
Well, it was about ABM, and it's just like my own not understanding of something. So before we move on, I was just curious. if it does, and I know you said it's a while away, but if it does change to a 1.0 ABM for pre-K, does that mean would there be no limit to the amount of children that can enroll per school? Is it like you have to say yes to every child that would enroll, there's not a cap?
Right, I mean, that's a great question, and it's a complicated answer.
Okay.
Early childhood in the state of Vermont and really like across the United States, it's a mixed delivery system. There's public providers, public schools, but the private sector has been a huge component of that. So I don't, and this is just speculation and opinion, on my part, but I don't believe that there would ever be a mandate that schools would be the only delivery system to deliver pre-K. So given that there's that fact and that childcare and pre-K, we have this whole other huge set of regulations from the Agency of Human Services, and we have to follow student-teacher ratios as well as classroom square feet ratios. So there's a potential that we would not have the physical space to be able to accommodate all the children if it was mandated as a requirement. So long story short, I don't think that the state, again, in my opinion, would mandate that public schools have to be the person that's providing that service. They'll want that mixed delivery. If that answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
I have a different question, but
Yeah.
along the same topic. With this push to go from 0.4 to 1.0, is there anything as an individual or as a board that we can do to say, hey, you should consider this? Should you strive to do this?
Definitely. I think one of the first steps is to be able to reach out to our local representatives to let them know your opinions and your thoughts on that. There's also quite a few early childhood organizations that have popped up or grown with this whole movement, and they're great advocacy organizations and really help to push all of this through the legislature. So I would be happy to send out, to Rebecca to get out to the board further information about
Anything that helps steer I'm happy to write something, but I just don't know who to send it to, other than my local rep, but.
Yeah, that's a great resource, actually. I mean, I think it's one of the most effective and most powerful when you build that local connection with your reps and have those conversations. I think it can go really far, but
Okay.
I'd be happy to get some contacts for you through Rebecca.
Don't want to overburden anything you're already doing, but I would take any guidance you have.
Thanks. It's nice to hear that support for this. So just a couple facts about the Child Care Financial Assistance Program. Of the families that are fee-paying families, so families that stay beyond our universal pre-K hours, we have currently 50% of families that are qualifying for child care financial assistance. So it's a significant number. One of the other main focuses of Act 76 has really just been focusing on quality improvement of programs. There's been a program in place that's run through the Agency of Human Services. It's called STARS, the Step Ahead Recognition System, and it's a quality-based program where historically, I'm on TV right now, but there's a lot of paperwork pushing to be able to get different levels of STARS. Level 1 star would be your first level that you're at, and essentially that's saying you're in compliance with licensing regulations. And then you can kind of move all the way up based off all these different criteria to be at a 5-star program. And essentially that means if you're nationally accredited. All of our pre-K programs are currently at a 4-star program, so a very high rating. We've chosen at this point not to go through national accreditation because it's a lot. Very valuable, but we've just been focused on some other things at this point. So, but they have revamped this whole STARS quality improvement program. And it's not that paperwork pushing anymore. It's really looking at quality interactions between educators and students and how to measure that. We have outside observers coming in to observe the classrooms and provide really helpful feedback. And then we're going to be working on submitting like a portfolio-based application starting in February through May. Each of our pre-K programs, we have 4 of them, are on a different timeline, but we're going to be starting this February through May, submitting those online portfolios. And essentially, it's putting in place what's called like a continuous improvement, quality improvement plan. So we're always just looking and gauging what we're doing, how are we doing it, and how can we improve. So it's not going to be as static as it has been in the past. So we've been prepping for this. We're in a really great position. We have a coach through the state that has been working with us and has already started observations. We have an excellent group, a team pre-K teachers, and have gotten really great feedback on the work that they're doing. So I feel like we're ready to move forward. It's hard to say what level of star we're going to land at until we actually submit it this winter, but I can anticipate that we would be at a level 4.
And so is that an annual recertification or?
Thank goodness, no. It's every 3 years.
Okay.
But there will be an annual report that's due each year to check in and show your updated plan for continuous improvement. And this is a requirement to participate in through universal pre-K. So it's not an option, it's something, and it's a good thing to do. It's something that we want to do as well. Yeah. So that's a little bit about the STARS program. I'm not going to spend too much time, I know, on this, but the slide that I just pulled up really is just showing the 5 different STARS levels in the 3 different content areas that we're focusing on. The first one, which arguably, in my opinion, is the most important, which is the adult-child interactions. Also talking about family-youth engagement, and then responsive practices, which is really looking more at curriculum and the assessments that we do in the program. So that's kind of my summary, my quick summary of what the state has been up to, all of the exciting things happening in the early childhood world. One of the other, I guess bringing it a little bit closer to home here for Mill River, one of the major initiatives that we've been involved in this past year is through what's called the Pyramid Model Consortium, which is a framework of building a system for what's called early multi-tiered systems of support. You may have heard of MTSS being spoken about at the K through 12 level, and they're really focusing on developing that actually from birth through grade 3. So we have been working. We were selected by the Agency of Education this past year to work at Clarendon, specifically as a startup, to have a coach come in and focus on receiving the training. Keep on hitting my slides. On receiving training for the Pyramid Model Consortium, which again is this framework that's really building on social emotional development for children. So all of our staff, pre-K licensed teachers, as well as pre-K paras, in the past year and a half have completed, it's about 25 hours of professional development focused on the pyramid model. And then specifically at Clarendon, we've been working with a coach who comes in once a month in a leadership team capacity as like a practice-based coach. To work with myself. We have educators on board as part of this leadership team. The principal is on board, an early childhood special educator, and we also have a caregiver representative on that leadership team. And we're just focusing on how can we implement this early system, this tiered level of support for the pre-K age. And a lot of that, and the majority of that, I'm going to emphasize this over and over again, is about social and emotional development. It's crucial. It's the foundation for everything we do in education, and without that, without that social emotional competency, children have a really hard time being able to access any other sort of educational learning. So it's crucial. So we've been engaged in this coaching model for a full year now at Clarendon, and it's all grant funded, so there's no cost to the district for that. We were invited to continue on for 1 more year. We have a new principal at Clarendon, so it's going to help bring her up to speed. We've had a couple staff on leave in that program as well as at school. So this will just help to really, hopefully fully implement this system at Clarendon with our sights and hopes to be able to implement it at the other 3 elementary schools as well. So we've been super busy with that. And then wanted to talk quickly about our pre-K summer camp. Last summer was our first year that we offered a combined or consolidated pre-K summer camp during the summer. It was based out of Clarendon and is for 5 weeks. It kind of mirrors the after-school program, summer program that's at Clarendon. And so this is actually our second year that we've been operating it. So students enrolled in any of the 4, currently enrolled in any of the 4 elementary schools were eligible to enroll. We served 15 students, again, limited by capacity. We could have served 35 or 40 if we had the staffing. There's that much of a demand for it. We were able to participate in the summer meals program, so all students were able to have breakfast and lunch. And it was also a really direct collaboration with Student Services and Coral Stone. So children on IEPs, if that was part of their IEP plan, were able to receive those services during the summer as well, which is so important to help prevent regression in the summer months. And this program is completely, funded through fee-for-service. So families are paying tuition to attend this program, and that covers the cost. But again, we do accept the Child Care Financial Assistance Program, and I think it's like 58% of our families were utilizing the financial assistance program to be able to do that. And then also the SPED budget helps to support it as well. This past year in May, something we've been doing now for a couple of years is we do a registration day at each of the elementary schools for new and incoming pre-K students. So we invite families in by an appointment where they visit, they meet all the staff in the program, the classroom teachers, they get to see the classroom space. It's really crucial to be able to start building these relationships like right out the bat before school starts. We process, all the registration paperwork, and then our nursing staff will do vision and hearing screenings. And we've gotten great feedback from families about how much they appreciate that opportunity to visit before their babies start in school for the first time, because it's a huge transition. It's a huge transition for families. So that's been really successful. And then just one of the last things, kind of like on a little bit of a high note, I wanted to talk about before taking any other questions. And again, through some grant funding that we received on October 28th, our full pre-K staff is actually heading to Killington for a conference through the Vermont chapter of the National Association for the Education of Young Children. So that's that national accreditation agency that I was speaking to you about. It's a phenomenal conference. There's going to be over 350 early childhood professionals from the state of Vermont, and it's right in our backyard. It's a conference over 2 days. There's over 35 workshops, keynote speakers, and it's just a great way for the staff to be able to network with other early childhood educators. That's probably one of the most important parts. And I just wanted to just mention quickly about what the conference is about, because this is personally just really important for me in the early childhood world. But this year, the conference is focusing really on embedding wellness for children and their caregivers in our practices. It's important to recognize, that we're all born with creativity, and curiosity, and really just this hunger to explore the world around us. And the big question for me, and I think a lot of educators, is how do we keep that as we become adults? How do we keep that fire, that curiosity, that want, that need, or that desire to explore the world around us? And then when you're an educator, how do you translate that then to working with young children? So this conference really is focused all about that. So I think it's a great opportunity. So that's everything I had tonight, but if you have any questions.
I was gonna say, any questions for Sarah? Josh?
Yep. I have a few questions. One of the things that I remember maybe a few years ago, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, there was getting the payments for like those kids that are doing more than the 10 hours wasn't super streamlined. It felt like I heard from parents that was a problem, and I assume now maybe that's all straightened out, and you know, if you have a young preschool kid going the full day, payments and all that stuff is relatively streamlined, and we're collecting all of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. You know, from my perspective, as the coordinator of the district, I think it is streamlined. I think that the application process for families can be a little bit arduous. There's a lot. It's a thick application. So sometimes families do need direct support filling out that application, but we do have a local office that's there to assist families in completing that information. And then I think, you know, prior to the pre-K coordinator position here, this is my going into my 4th year of working here. It wasn't consolidated or streamlined here at Mill River. It was the teachers doing billing with parents and working with families on making sure they had the resource to be able to apply for child care financial assistance. And then once families do apply, you know, you have to stay on top of that because eligibility certificates expire, and you have to submit attendance to the state. So I do think that there was a little bit, it was kind of laggy before, and some challenges with that. But again, I think from my perspective, it's been pretty streamlined.
Then another question that I had was for the summer camp, because it is fee for service, was it literally there just wasn't enough qualified people wanting the job to support those other kids?
Right. So with pre-K, we have to go through a process where we have to license the spaces where pre-K children are going to be, whether it's in a classroom or whether it's the library that they're going to use for story time. So that's through the Agency of Human Services. Even if you're a public school, you have to go that route. So part of it is a space issue where you definitely would have to license additional spaces, and there's really, I mean, it's like 100 pages of additional requirements that need to be met. So there's that issue. We were trying to run at least 2 classrooms at Clarendon because we are currently licensed for 2 classrooms at Clarendon, but we just did not have the staffing to be able to work and do that for the 2 classrooms.
And then the last question that I had was for the MTSS, for the professional development. Was that when the coach, like during those professional development sessions, was it the coach who was leading those, or how did that work?
Yeah, so it kind of happened at different times. So when the state, the Agency of Human Services, first started offering the trainings, again, this is all grant funded and something that they're, you know, providing to really try to build the workforce knowledge base. They did like, you know, like an online, you know, course in the evening where we had quite a few of our licensed teachers just on their own was like, this is amazing, I am signing up and I am taking this. Like, this is what we've needed. About 6 months after that online evening course was launched, they recognized, you know, the huge demand and wait list that they started doing like recorded trainings. So those recorded trainings made it much easier for our pre-K paras to be able to access, and then I was able to embed that during our in-service or half-day early release days. So it became much more accessible for folks to take. And then once we had those trainings all set, essentially all of our staff were trained, and then we had the invitation to participate in becoming what's called the fully implemented early MTSS site with the coach. If programs started participating in the early MTSS coaching without the training, then they would work with that school to get them up to speed. But we started off, like our staff was, they were right there, they had it. It was great.
So Sarah, you mentioned that the availability of a full-day program, part, I assume, part preschool, part childcare. Is that every day? And is it, there used to be a breakdown of 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, how is that all?
Yeah.
Is it pretty much the same, or is it changed?
It's pretty consistent across our 4 schools. The way that Mill River has it set up, and this is how it was set up when I stepped into the position, is that when children are 3 years of age or their first year of pre-K, they can access programming Monday through Friday from 8 until 12:30 at no cost. And then if you're a pre-K 4 or your second year of pre-K, they can enroll Monday through Friday from 8 to 3 at no cost. All of our programs operate beyond the school day because we recognize the need for programming for families, working families, or other situations. So as an example, like Wallingford, they're open from 7 until 5:15. But those hours that fall outside the universal pre-K, again, are the fee-based, where we're collecting the tuition or receiving it from the state.
I have a question. First of all, thanks for all that you do. It's so important. The early childhood is such an important foundation for all of the kids, so I really appreciate that, so thank you. A question that I have is about the pyramid model consortium. Will the other schools in the district have access to that sort of training as well at some point?
Right. So they've all been through the training part of the aspect of it, which again is about like 25 hours approximately, which is great. So they have that knowledge base, but it's one thing to have that knowledge and then to apply it in your work. And so that's where the coaching comes in. So I'm not one to jump into anything. Joe, you can probably attest to this, kind of an overthinker a little bit. But I really wanted to go through this full year at Clarendon and see how this is. It's great, the training's great, but what does it actually mean in the workday for staff? What does it mean for families? How does this play out? So we've been through 1 year, and again, we've had some changes at Clarendon. So we're going to do another year at Clarendon and really see how it is and making sure that we love this before we commit at the other schools. But so far, so good.
I just want to mention when it comes to the conference, we are not having pre-K the day of that conference. We have not done that in the past for any other like PD. Sarah and I really sat down and we decided to make that choice this year because there is no way we could have gotten her entire crowd to that conference. Like, because the pre-K sub-requirements are so specific and that there's no way that they would have had that opportunity during the summer. It just couldn't have happened otherwise. And so when we really sat down and talked about that cost benefit and having the availability for the funding, having it right there, we took that leap this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a good call because, you know, again, with the Agency of Human Service regulations that we have to follow, all of our staff, whether they're one-to-one aides or paras, they have to have a minimum of 15 hours of professional development on top of CPR and first aid certification. So when we have half-day early release days or other times, we're running childcare or aftercare programs. Our paras are there in the classrooms all the time. So for them, again, to access at least that mandatory 15 hours of professional development a year, we really do have to be creative to meet the needs of families as well as the professional development needs. So I think this is a great solution, and any of the feedback that we've gotten from folks is they're all about it. They're completely supportive of it.
Any other questions? Josh, were you done with your questions? Okay, thank you. All right, well, thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Can you share your slideshow with us so we have it too?
Yeah.
Because my eyesight's really bad and I didn't see any of that.
I can.
Yeah. Yeah, you want me, I can share it with Rebecca if you want. or is
Yeah,
that-
yeah.
Okay.
And
Thank
you
you.
should have access if you just do MRUUSD board, it should pop up.
Okay.
If not, let me know and I'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want me to?
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, so we're on to board goals update, and I'm gonna pass it off to Josh because I actually went to the Shrine football game, so I missed part of the thing. Which, go Mason. You were amazing.
So on Saturday, we did a longer meeting, which I think everybody, we felt like it was a pretty successful meeting of just talking about ourselves as a board and just going through different roles and responsibilities that we had. And for the board goals, last year we really did a big change, big consolidations. And so this year we didn't actually have to do that much in changing it and reworking them. It was more of a discussion of why they were still relevant and kind of thinking of in the future, what are things that we'd like to change. And I think one of the things that we should do is probably make a motion to accept these new goals. Is that a thing that we probably should do? So maybe within the motion, we can talk about the
discussion.
changes.
Okay. Are you making the motion, Josh?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to accept the newly updated board goals.
I'll second.
Thank you, Gray. Okay, now discussion.
Now I'd like to talk about it. So the 4 categories, the plan is basically to leave those 4 categories in place until we feel it's necessary to add some sort of bigger group or find some other goal that fits outside of those 4 big topics. And so for the first one, we didn't really make any changes. The second one, we wanted the wording to be changed just to make sure there was clarity in what we were doing and what that goal was. And then the other part of that, and kind of what we just heard about in the PreK and what they're doing is one of the things that we wanted to highlight was to be fiscally supporting training for staff. So that's one of the nice things about how our goals are set up right now, is that we can say, oh, this year we want to make sure that this is one of the things that we're highlighting and we're thinking about decisions that we're making. And so that support training, make sure we're emphasizing that in a way that is working well for the teachers and the rest of the staff so that the kids end up having better results, right? Because I think that's what we're all really here for. It's just to help the kids. And then in the third one, we just did some edits of just how we wanted to change the communication of the board and leave it more open, right? So it wasn't too prescriptive. It let us have some flexibility. And then in the fourth one, it was, we've developed a 5-year facility plan, and now we're going to go about the actions of reviewing it. And instead of getting rid of talking about the 5-year plan and the goal, making sure it was still highlighted, because it's going to be more and more important as our surplus goes away and funding is up in the air, that we really try to keep hold of what our facilities need and try to keep prioritizing things that are going to keep us being able to effectively spend the money that we do have. Does anyone else have to give any other comments or anything things that I didn't hit on?
That was a good synopsis.
Lovely. Well, then,
You can take bylaws too,
Well,
Oh, we gotta have a vote.
but we have to vote,
I
yeah.
have to finish voting for this
Yes.
one. Do you want to call it?
So all in favor of accepting the updated board goals, sorry, not rules.
Okay.
All right, you're unanimous, so we'll get them posted too on the website.
Because we're gonna move on to bylaws?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Because we actually, when we were, during our retreat, we looked at, before we did the goals, we did basically the role of what school boards are supposed to do. And that and the goals ended up taking up a big chunk of the time. And so we actually didn't do any changes or even really talk about the bylaws. And I think we're going to plan to make another time, either probably most likely in a full board meeting. I don't know if we didn't really talk about our plan, did we? For doing when we were going to tackle the bylaws. But I think it's one of those things that there's things that we need to discuss about it.
We can definitely, on agenda building, talk about what we want to do with those. How we want
That's
to do
the
it.
bylaw.
All right. Thank you, Josh. So next is teacher master agreement ratification, and I don't have any notes on this. Do you? Who has?
So,
I have bid notes.
here is what I know. I know that negotiations worked really hard with the union to come to an agreement. And I know that our union has voted and has accepted this, right?
Yes, correct.
And so at this point, it is our request to the board to ratify that negotiated agreement.
Sorry.
So
I'm looking through,
you
too.
need a motion then, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we accept the agreement
I'll
or
second it.
approve it.
That we ratify it.
Ratify.
We ratify it.
Ratify
And I'll
it.
second.
Okay.
So now we're in discussion. I've read through most of all of it. I'm going to presume those that were on negotiations, this meets everything that we've agreed to? Then I have no other questions.
Yeah, that would be mine.
Yeah, it's really just basically, I mean, I think, Rebecca, you included a sheet for signatures.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a
And
front
so
sheet.
that's basically where we're at.
So
Yep.
I did notice that there's no financial information included in this. We didn't, at least I don't think, and, I mean, I got the whole
That's the whole contract.
contract. Is it embedded in the contract somewhere?
Yes.
I thought I read
Yes,
it,
it
but-
is.
I thought I read the whole thing, but I don't remember.
It's way down at the bottom. The
salary.
in the
Yep.
appendices
Oh, maybe I didn't get.
is where the page 30 is where the numbers are, and then the table is the next three after that. I think I'm losing my voice.
Gotcha. Thank you. I got it.
Way down there.
For some reason, it hadn't downloaded all the way. Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on it? All right.
Do we have a printed copy for these people listed on the front here?
So I am currently printing.
Everybody, not everybody's present.
Not everyone's present.
So can we,
So I do believe that we can ratify it in board notes, and then we can work to gather enough signatures
Yep.
Throughout the
Because
coming
we need
weeks.
theirs too, right? There's no
Yeah,
space.
because not everybody on the teacher unit is, may I ask, are you comfortable with us, should the board choose to ratify tonight, are you comfortable with us working on the signatures as we can get everyone present?
Yeah.
If we hold it with Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay, so.
okay,
Are you
perfect.
guys comfortable with that?
That answers my question.
Okay, great.
All right, so I guess, to vote, all in favor of the Mill River teacher unit ratification? Geez, Sarah and Gray are like quick with their hands. All right, thank you, everybody. And we'll work on signatures, getting them, because we have a few that we'll need to get. Okay, thank you. Now we have technology bid, which I do
Last I saw,
understand that.
BJ was up there.
BJ is up there. If I
Yeah, I'm
Totally.
up here, but I am fighting something, so I'm keeping the camera off. And
Okay, so
Don't breathe on us.
just BJ, like, let me know if I'm wrong, because I do have guidance on that. So in front of us is the bid for interactive TV. It's 75-inch interactive TV with stands. Who did we purchase from last year? Do you remember?
Normally, we purchase from a company called Second Gear.
Yep,
They
okay.
are new. It's not a second-hand
And
one,
yep,
but they usually come out with the best pricing.
yes, and they are the lowest bid on here.
Yeah.
So, I make a motion to accept the bid from Second Gear on, the TVs, interactive TVs. Yes, Josh?
He wants to
Second?
second it.
Any more discussion on it?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yep,
What do we do with interactive TVs? How are they used?
in the classrooms or at meetings, they are for,
If you went
Do you want me to
to,
answer it?
yeah,
go ahead. I don't want you to talk any more than, I don't want you to get any more sick.
I'm fine. I'm just trying to stay awake. Yeah, no, right now, a lot of the teachers have very aging projectors and smart boards that do not work in all the classrooms. This is the newest technology so that the teacher can be teaching from the front of the classroom. They're interactive by means of touch, so they can go up and touch the board, write notes as if it was a chalkboard, save those notes, put them on Google Classroom. I would assume the elementary school teachers have a lot of the students going up and doing stuff. That's a common way of using it. This is part of basically a replacement plan to try and keep classroom technology up to date. So it is in the budget to get new ones each year and slowly replace out all the old projectors and systems that are in each classroom. This is the last year for the interactive boards and the Chromebooks that I can use ESSER money. So that's what these are coming from, these two proposals.
Yep.
So,
Clarify that for me if you don't mind. The ESSER money, what does that mean?
That was the federal
what-
grant COVID money.
Yes.
Okay, so this is not coming from the taxpayers in the town?
No, this is strictly from the ESSER funds
Okay.
and has been for the last
Great,
couple of
thank
years.
you.
And
Yeah.
the shorthand is blackboards were replaced by whiteboards, which were replaced by projectors, which are now smart TVs. So it's basically the blackboard of Gen Alpha.
Josh, do you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to know how they're getting divided up.
Yep,
That was my question.
my question too.
I had a little bit more than I normally planned. What I have for my cycle is that every year I buy one for each elementary school. So there's one going to each elementary school. And then I have, I think, at least two going to the high school. With this grant, I was able to get 10 of them. So I might actually add a few more to the high school. And I will look at where the elementary schools are too. So I have two extras that I can put in and find a home for. And there are many teachers itching to get them.
I have a follow-up.
Okay.
Are they portable?
Yeah, they're on wheels. Wheel
Yeah,
stands.
one of the things I worked with Tim on the maintenance crew, and we came to the realization that trying to mount these TVs up on the walls with the various wall conditions and just time that people have to do that work. We decided it was better to buy mobile carts. I encourage you to take a look at, most of the middle school right now has them. So
Okay, thank you.
you can check those out.
Thank you.
Josh?
So when we've gone to Tinmouth, so like that is the like when we've seen those presentations for the past 2 years, they've been on those screens.
Yep.
And some of the other elementary schools. So we've seen them. And just, you know, my daughter has been in the classroom in Tinmouth that has had it since they brought in, and they do all sorts. It's very impressive, all the stuff that they do on it and how much they get out of it, how much weight, you know, it's way better than a blackboard. So that's really super great. It's helpful for them.
All right. So all in did we have we had a second. We were in discussion. All in favor of accepting the second year bid? All right, you're good. So the next bid BJ has is for touchscreen.
No, student Chromebooks. Oh, yeah.
There,
that's
yeah.
Chromebook.
Student Chromebooks, which is on our replacement cycle, which is
Yeah.
ESSER funds.
We have,
No, go ahead, Beach.
no, we're not in discussion yet.
Oh, never mind. Okay, so I make a motion to accept the connection bid, which is the second one on there.
He recommended. Is that the one he recommended, Andrea?
No, I recommended WCA. Wally Computer
Oh, yeah.
Associates.
So I make a motion for that one. Do I have a second? And then we got to go in discussion.
You mean the WCA?
No, the connection. I'm going cheaper. No, just kidding.
Well,
I just my number now.
It's the second bid.
one second.
Oh, never mind. Okay. So I retract mine. So, gotta read. I make a motion to accept the bid for the WCA devices.
That I'll second.
Okay. Now discussion. Go BJ.
Okay, yeah, so the connection was the non-touch ones.
Yes. No.
As you can see, the price to go to a touch is really not much.
Yeah.
And it is something that some teachers have asked for, especially at the elementary school level. It's just a second way of interfacing with the device. And I can talk to my own daughters, they actually like the touch when they get to do it, so welcome to my feedback. These Chromebooks, the ESSER funds, I have to get spent by September this year. You know, use it or lose it. Technically, we don't need 124 devices as of right now, but I am buying them early now, and a lot of them will get launched at the end to next year to help alleviate any spending that money in the budget.
Okay. That
So
explains it. Okay.
Buying as many as I can now so that when we do launch it,
We don't
it's not,
get stressed.
we're not putting all that money into the budget. We will have to talk about that next year, but that's next year.
Okay.
I think I asked this last year, BJ, but I forgot. What happens to the Chromebooks that we, for lack of a better word, throw away?
We have, Chromebooks have an end of life where they stop getting security updates. Macs do too, and we're following that one up too. And essentially, this is probably the first year that we've actually had some extras. that are not at end of life, that we can kind of use up. Was going to contact second year, probably the end of next year, once if we have a substantial number of ones that are not end of life, but have spent 4 years in our system, and hopefully get some money from that with like a little bit of buyback. I don't think it's going to be much.
Gotcha.
What I will say is that, especially at the high school, these devices get opened and closed and moved between classrooms. And we're talking about a device that's $240.
It gets
Back
you,
in the last 4 years in that environment
you beat me to it.
is pretty well, and I'm actually impressed when I get them as a senior. If they're worn out, that means they've been used. So that's another thing. So that's, if they're all pristine, that means we got something else that we're not using them to their fullest.
I think Josh has a question.
Josh, or do you?
Yeah, my only question is with the touchscreens, because BJ, am I right that you do repairs in-house? And if that's true.
Screen repairs are done in-house.
Yeah, so is a touch screen, and how much more expensive is it to replace a touch screen than it is a non-touch screen? Basically is my question.
That's a good question. The way these touchscreens work, I can actually replace it with a non-touch screen. It's the same thing. Most of those touchscreens are about $50 each when they break. What we have implemented at the high school is a $30 incident fee. So if a student needs a power cord because they lost it, it's a $30 incident fee. If they do accidental damage, it's a $30 incident fee. We're not doing the insurance or anything like that. And honestly, that money usually goes back to the student activity fund, because student activities can go year to year. Where my budget, getting a lump sum right before budget closes is not advantageous to anything.
All right. All in favor of the WCA? All right, we're good. Thank you very much, BJ. Go get some sleep.
Yeah. Been asleep since 12. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks, Pete.
Feel better.
Okay, so foundations bid update. I'm hearing is Stan and Jody.
You Stan, yes. So this is just an update on the work that has been going on over at Foundations. He's coming.
Is he walking?
Backup's coming. The basic summary, and then I'll let Stan do the more intelligent work, is that it's not going to be done in time for the fiscal year.
The Foundations project building, originally, we had gone to you back, I think in March, to use 2024 budget surplus funds that we knew we had from the special ed budget. So that money was transferred over to cover that project, but the project obviously has to get done by June 30th to take advantage of those funds. Due to weather, due to an injury that the contractor suffered at the start that set him back, he did not finish the project by June 30th. He just finished it last week. So I don't have the exact number, but it's around $8,000 something was the final piece of the contract that we owed. That money cannot be used, obviously, in FY24 because the work was done after. So we're, I guess, requesting the board, or that currently we don't know if we can find the money in the budget because we haven't started the school year, basically. So we are asking to use the building fund to pay for the remaining 8,000 some odd dollars that is out there remaining to be paid on the project.
Is it in the building fund?
Correct.
Yes, we have that money in the building fund.
Yes.
Okay.
So was any of the work done by June 30th?
Yes,
And that got paid out?
That's-
that got
that
paid
money?
out
yes.
in installments, so, 25, 50, and then I think we had paid 75% of the project by June 30th.
Okay, so this is 25%.
Remaining 25%
Yes.
that needs to get paid.
And can you refresh my mind, what was done over there?
The siding and the roof. And there was also some heat ventilator units that were, I think that were
that
installed
air.
also, yeah.
So I guess I make a motion to pay the contractor the remainder amount out of the building funds. Do I have a second?
Sure.
I'll second it.
All right, I got 3 of them. Woohoo! Any more discussion? Any more questions?
Do we have a timeline now that says it will be completed by?
It's
The project
done.
was finished by the end of last week,
Ah.
so it is
done.
finished.
So it's officially completed, it's just an outstanding payment?
Yes.
Got it.
Now, the other thing I can offer is if, we can go ahead, pay it out of the building fund, but at a later date revisit the budget in the second half of the year, if we have the funds to pay it out of the current budget, out of buildings and grounds.
put it back in the
To put it back into the building fund and pay it out of the general fund, we could do something along those lines.
Okay.
But for now, it would be out of the building fund.
Any other questions? All right, all in favor of paying it? Okay, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along, we are on to committee reports and we are personnel.
Yes, we are personnel.
Glad you are.
Yeah. So I make a motion, we have some contracts for folks we met tonight, and so we have some contracts and some other things. So, number 1, I'd like to make a motion to offer Adam Bartolo, sorry, I apologize, Adam, wherever you are. 1.0 full-time equivalency on educational support staff.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, okay. Next is a contract for Tabitha Loso, 1.0 full-time equivalency as a long-term sub in special education, and I would make that a motion.
I'll second.
Thanks, Carol. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, thank you. Next, I make a motion to offer a contract to Kayla Boudry, 1.0 full-time equivalency, educational support staff.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Patricia. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain. Okay. Next is a letter of resignation from Emily Ann Lamica, who is resigning from her position as a special education para for the Mill River Unified Union School District. The last day of her employment will be July 5th, 2024. And I would make a motion to accept this resignation.
I'll second.
Thanks, Andrea. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Next is a letter of resignation from Beth Oldenburg as a pre-K para position and she is resigning to take another position. So I would make a motion that we accept her resignation.
I'll second.
Thanks, Carol. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, abstain. Okay, next is an I make a motion that we offer a contract to Kelly Waterhouse as a teacher, grade 7 through 12, as a STEAM educator. We have taken math off of the contract, so it's just as STEAM, which is?
Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Okay? So I make that a motion to offer her a contract 1.0 full-time equivalency.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Discussion?
I think, Lenny, my only discussion, and we discussed it in personnel, is that I
Yep.
don't really have a clear idea of what that position is going to be, so it'd be helpful maybe if Sean came at some point, just to, I don't know if he's on, I don't think so, but
No.
to just talk about, it sounds like it's part of a whole program, and I'd be
Right.
curious to hear more about it. Not critically curious, just I'm interested in
Yeah.
hearing what the idea is, so.
Any other discussion? And Jody, can you set it up with Sean so that he could give us a little bit better, maybe at the next meeting, just in terms of what STEAM entails?
Yes, would you like him to come to the full board or personnel?
We won't have a personnel meeting, so,
Well, I'm not on personnel, so I'd like full board.
yeah, full board.
Have them full.
Full board at the next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay. And you'd like a
just a synopsis of,
synopsis of, would you like it to be about these two positions? The two
Yes.
all ed positions together and how that's gonna work?
yeah.
Okay.
You okay with that, Carol?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Just, you know, because they're kind of a match. I think it would only make sense if you had both sides of the whole.
Well, and that's, we were talking about the licensure piece earlier, just to make sure that we're covering our bases in
Yep.
terms of being able to offer credit, particularly at the high school level.
Sure thing.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain. Andrea, you abstaining?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And I am too. Okay. That would be it from me. Our next Personnel Committee meeting is September 7th? September 4th? That's what I said. September 4th at 6:30. And I'm done.
All right,
I got
thank
nothing
you.
else to say.
So now we're on to policy.
Policy, yes, it is that time. Good evening. I will bring to you three for a second reading, and I'm going to lump them unless people feel otherwise, all because they're second reads. So I will make a motion that we adopt for a second reading A8, which is board education, A9, which is board goal setting and evaluation, B15, which is bonus payments to staff, for a second read.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Were there changes to these, or was it just the numbering? I know some of them.
Number reorganization.
Okay.
We did make a small edit to board goal setting because some of the language that was in there did not match our current practice.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing none further discussion, all those in favor? Unanimous. Our next meeting will be 8/13, next Tuesday, for those that are interested, at 5:30.
Thank you. and Grounds.
Oh, that's me again. We haven't had a meeting. It has been summer. They have been working very diligently on getting the building ready for our great opening day, which I believe is August 28th. Ah, look at that, I got it right. Our meeting, our very first meeting, following the summer will be August 26th. So right on the cusp of joining the back-to-school year, which will be at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Back to you, I'll try again. They weren't listed in the minutes.
They're in the, sorry, they were in the board meeting materials,
Yeah, but they weren't in the
but
minutes.
they were in the minutes, got it.
Okay. So we're on to community engagement. Nick, are you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
So, community engagement will be meeting on August 21st at 6 o'clock. And we're hoping at that point to approve a calendar of events. I'm gonna be in touch with, try and be in touch with the principals, make sure we have up-to-date dates. And then I think at the board meeting, when we do agenda building for the full board, we're gonna, well, we could do it during this, actually, talk about how people can sign up or to go to different events so we can have more board interaction with the public. And then community conversations will also be a topic, I think, on the 21st, but I'm not sure we're going to be setting anything up immediately. So we're working on it.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, my laptop's gonna die in a minute. All right, so we're on to finance. We have pay orders.
Yes, we do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi,
All
Steve.
right. So yeah, we have payroll warrants for our 8/7/24. Let's see, to be signed in by the board. This is fiscal year 25 stuff. July 16th, we have $41,532.11. July 19th, $130,189.62. July 19th, $50,092.86. August 2, $136,794.92. And August 2, $69,549.50 for a total of $428,159.01.
I love 50 cents.
I'll move on to accounts payable. We have general fund in the amount of $6,952.94. The amount of $25,055.55. In the amount of $351.95, and then two general fund batch edits, one for $78,243.81, and another for $80,096.24, for a total of $118,749. For student activities, we've got $15.97.37 from Mill River, $323.06 from Clarendon, and none for Shrewsbury, Tinmouth, or Wallingford, for a total of $19.20.43. And then we have some more batch edits as well here. In the amount of $119,814.41, $8,347.63, $396.31, $12,047.26, and $2,426.81, for a total of $143,032.42. We're trying to think of that's. I make a motion for the board to approve this read it into the record. There goes.
I'll make that motion. Or I'll second it. Second. You made the motion.
Any questions, discussion on it? Karen's pretty thorough about sending everything out to us with all the prints and everything. Okay. All in favor? All right. Thank you very much, Stephen. When's your next meeting?
Hold on a second. Sorry. I have my headset torn out of my ear right now.
14th.
Next meeting is the 14th.
At what time?
At 5 p.m.
Perfect.
And we'll be talking about, this is kind of a pre-budget season meeting a little bit. We'll be talking about kind of preparing for the budget season calendar, and we'll talk a lot about how we can interact with the community engagement team and with the board on basically helping us communicate the budget process and decisions and creating pathways of communication with the public.
Yeah, we all feel that way.
Budget cycle, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so Transact, any other legal business? Do we have anything else? Okay, agenda building. Do we want for next I'm at the wrong job. Next meeting to put like bylaws on there and work it in? I don't, off the top of my head, know what's on our schedule.
I would be, put it on there tentatively.
You want to?
It feels like it's gonna be a heavier, if there's other stuff that Brian needs to be bringing to us.
Okay, because I can communicate with Brian when he gets back and find out exactly, but tell him that we would like to put Sean and the bylaws on the next agenda.
And if Sean can't make it, the next, just at some point, it would be.
Well, we'll catch him before school starts.
So can we call that for agenda building, high school alternative program
Yeah.
information?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, and then I'll work out with what other stuff we have on the calendar. I don't remember.
No, that's not.
I think it's just cleanup and stuff like
Yeah,
that, so.
I-
All right, I'll get with Brian. Do we need an executive session or anybody? I don't have any reason.
Nick, did you want to put first reads of B6 and B10 on?
Please.
Oh, yes.
So for agenda building, for committee
Policy.
policy, first read E6, B10?
Okay. 6, 10. Okay, and
Our next meeting is 2 weeks from now?
yes, we're
It's
back
not-
on schedule.
It's not on the board calendar. I was
Yes,
just wondering
we're
if I was
on-
missing something.
Nope, we're back on our schedule again after the summer.
It probably just hasn't been updated yet. I'll make a note for Brian.
Okay, so next meeting will be August 21st, but, we'll all see you at community meetings. And I am adjourning the meeting at 8:22. Everybody have a really good night, and thank you.